so weak to that tendency of song, that ability to struggle and fight. And going into rivers doesn't necessarily mean that one becomes soft. In fact, rivers are dangerous media. You see, they can flood and destroy whole structures. If you really want to, this is really it. It is a justice sound. You see, it is a sound that says we have a right to exist, we have a right to be. But what has happened is we 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 really need to grow the lyrical content, to
I
let it
agree.
meet to what Bobby's saying. What Bobby's saying, yes.
Yes, yes. That's true. And if you notice, all the other islands, for instance, Jamaica, that defiance and fight for freedom and liberation and justice and so on, it exists in reggae music. I mean, that was what
Totally.
Bob Marley actually made his name on, you know. I listen to some of the Haitian tunes, especially the older ones. I mean, right now, most of the Haitian songs, they just come, they're really surrounded around fun and dance and party
Hmm.
and stuff. But when you go back into the Haitians, they were very jazzy and their lyrics were very deep at the level we're talking now. So when you look at Caribbean people, we always express our struggle in our music. And I think Gordon Henderson Exile one, Jeff Joseph and Graham Marks, they did that pretty well, you know, when they think even Swinging Stars themselves, you know, when they did Ubwile Grotto, that was a cry too, you know, because I
Hmm.
mean Grotto
Hmm.
was a place where people came and had fun and enjoyed good music,
Hmm.
and then one day it was burnt down. So that was a cry too. You know, you have Mideba Woi Woi Woi, you have Ophelia I, Dominic, and those things. So you talking about that now just reminds me how far how much that has even existed in the other genres. And I think we need to recognize that calypso existed before them, and it must have come from that calypso thing in us, you know.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, yeah.
and Chubby doing Coco Sec and those kind of
yes, yes, yes.
this kind of music. So
Et ça
Bob,
au
but
café
for
moins
yourself
pour yon coco.
for one Coco. And if I don't feel like cutting my hair, ça c'est moi. Si moi dit
And
c'est
and then of course,
macatin chive moi.
and then he had this beautiful nuanced one. Oh Leo,
Oh yeah.
Otimuna knew, but Leo at that time was the Attorney General. You know.
Oh, so there was
Moi
that too.
So
travaille pour rien.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
So Bob, talk about tomorrow because we really much at the bottom of at the top of the hour. Tomorrow there's a jam singing slash jam. If you are in Dominica, you want to go check it out at the Old Mill Cultural Center. Singing slash has a jam at 8 p.m. It's going to be on pay-per-view as well for just $10, so you can participate in that. You look out for the information on TDN. But what else is going on for Calypso Day tomorrow?
Well, Calypso Day tomorrow. You know, basically, I think I'll be on Talking Point tomorrow, so you guys can tune in, and then I will be talking with Simone at some point in the morning as well.
At
There'll
11
be
a.m.
more.
tomorrow on TDN.
You're right. There more discussion and discussion and discussion on Calypso, and that is really how I wanted it to be, because I realized that the education aspect of Calypso, we really lapse in that. You know, what I mean, there's no information. There's just nothing happening after the Calypso competition until the next year. So, but it's
Right.
more important because there are people I'm on the radio off and on, and people are still asking like simply very basic questions. You know, people asking basic questions about the judging criteria. How do you follow Calypso and not know what the judging criteria is? You know, so there's
Hmm.
so much information to be had, and I think we're going to kind of talk. We may not go as deep as we went a while ago, Stein and myself, and you know, and you, but there's important little things all that above that surface there, you know, that a lot of people need to know, and that this is what we're going to try to do from tomorrow morning on Radio 9 o'clock tomorrow. And every opportunity I get to be on air tomorrow, I'll be talking about those important little areas that people need to know about, you know, and raise people consciousness. Really about raising, that's the word, you know, raising the consciousness of the people to accept and appreciate Calypso, that Calypso is part of our lives. And it's a nice thing to enjoy in song as well. and let's just play calypso and have fun for 24 hours tomorrow. You know, let's see how that works out. And we're looking forward to 2022 to have a calypso festival that will begin on Calypso Day and give other people enough time and space so that they can express, they can enjoy themselves, have shows throughout the island, Portsmouth to Grand Bay, and so on. That's really what that has been my dream, and that's what I want to
Okay.
see. I want to see happen.
Do you have the link for the pay-per-view? Do you know it off your head or not?
The pay-per-view
I
is
think it's on.
multinetsolutions.com/swinginsat.
Never mind. Sam just posted it on the link because one of the
Okay,
listeners
wonderful.
asked for it, and Sam posted it. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Bob,
and the ticket is only 10 US.
anyway, I want to congratulate you on a great initiative. I even further back than that. I really want to congratulate you on the thought that
Mm-hmm.
as the monarch, you
Mm-hmm.
have a responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to not just a privilege but a responsibility to embrace that position and to make a difference. So a king really behaves as a king, you know.
Right. Add
I'll
that
tell
to
you.
it.
I'll tell
Add
you.
that. Add,
Awesome.
I'll tell you
add that to
something
it
I heard
on and
about
off
the king.
stage.
I'll
On and
tell
off
you
stage.
on and
Okay.
off stage. I'll tell you something. One of those days, I called him from Georgia, and he was in the streets of Roseau, and suddenly I heard a kiss through the phone, and he said, "Boy, this woman passed me, and she looking so pretty." It's a
Thank you,
beautiful day, you know.
brother.
So I mean, the
But he's the
monarch
king.
really
That's
has to live.
He's the monarch. Yeah.
Monarch really
that's a
has to
topic
live
right there, you
spirit.
know. That's a topic
Oh,
right
Yeah.
there.
but Bob,
No,
just
but
before we
it's true.
leave, one more
Hmm.
thing. I would really love. I hope that in addition, for instance, a lot of people don't know eliminations can attract as much as 60 to 70 people. They only take 12. Sometimes they can have standby. These 12 join the 20 of the quarters before, those kinds of things. These 32 go to, they vie, and out of that, they take a number that goes now to, out of that 20, they would take 9. People need to know those things. That's one. And two, I think sometimes we should do some interpretation and have a little fun about our players and how beautiful sometimes let people understand what are so many other things these guys are saying. And it will challenge the lyricists to bring other meanings to bear on their business. How are they consolidating? I don't know what you think, Bob, but should Calypso be pointing in a direction, giving the people some lead as to where it thinks we should be going from here as a developing group of people, as a nation of people?
Of course, Calypso has a huge responsibility. You know, we say it's the cry of the people. Some people, so the people can't be crying about what has happened. We have to cry also about where we want to go as well. So I am in 100% agreement with you on that. That the Calypso has to provide some level of vision as to where we want to be.
Yeah, certainly.
And
And
I'm and Sam, I'm going to give you not Sam, Drigo, I'm going to give you guys a treat when we are closing the show. I'm going to walk into. I don't know if you can hear in the background the music playing. The Calypsonian side is practicing some old tunes of way back right now. So before when we
Oh,
close in, I'm going to walk
you're
into the
going to take
practice
us
so
into that space.
you can
Yeah.
so
hear. You
so
may
let me
not. It might get
before
really noisy and thing, but at least
well,
you
so
will see some
let me
activity.
let Stein give a little quick closing remark,
Yeah.
and then we go
Now,
to
man,
that.
we will
Yeah.
listen. I think this is excellent. I
Yes,
am eager to
yeah.
listen to hear.
Okay,
I love
awesome.
radio and I love radio songs, and that's just brilliant. I love the sound of things. So please,
So
Bob, go ahead.
So the only thing I would say is that Bob, one of the areas I'd like to see a focus on is on the other aspects of the music. So there's songwriting and there's the performance on stage, but there's also the arrangements, the promotion, the
Yeah.
management, and
Mm.
all of those aspects that's going to take the calypso to the next level. And so therefore, we would like to see some of that get incorporated into the school curriculum. Um, Develop some of those skills that we can get some more technical, folks coming out that can support the art that the artist is producing. So I really like the initiative. I think there's so much fertile ground to cover. So all the best,
And
congratulations, and tomorrow
Anthony,
we'll be all tuned in.
Anthony, just before you leave, you said this. Could you imagine if we took Bob's virtual monarch song, but it becomes part of a film.
Right.
For instance, a lot of Dominican calypso Bob would find, although some people say, I don't like that song, I don't like that song too political, that song too this, that, but take it and put it in a film, and bang,
And
it just fits.
it becomes a soundtrack. There you go.
Yeah, it becomes
So
part of
another
a story. That's
aspect,
what it
another
is, you know.
aspect.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So Bob, let's close it, listeners. Thank you for listening. Bob is going to take us live into to the
Yeah.
Easters Band House where they're practicing for tomorrow's jam.
So you will hold that connection until you're ready to cut off, because I wouldn't be able to hear you. So you just cut off when you're satisfied. All right. I am walking in
Okay,
now.
awesome.
Stein, it has been a pleasure talking
Okay,
with
it's
you.
a pleasure.
Awesome.
Drigo, we need to keep doing this because the education process must continue. And I love you guys. Thank
My
you,
mic is
Sam,
always
and all the
available to
listeners.
you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Listeners, I hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
It's Daddy Chef. Say hello to Daddy Chef.
Hey, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Hey,
TDN Radio
what's up,
Live.
guys?
Yeah, man. Big up.
Observer. Steinberg and
Big up,
Hey,
man.
tomorrow.
Let him
Nice,
face.
nice,
Come in
Observer.
light.
Yeah,
Nice,
man.
nice.
Awesome,
Live
guys.
in living colors.
The hardest working
Nice
president of
seeing
the
you.
DCA. And Checo.
Good luck.
Checo.
What's
The
up?
Good luck
controversial
tomorrow night.
Checo.
Good night.
Yeah, boy.
Awesome.
And we're going into the rehearsal now. Start singing.
All right.
Say good night to TDN Radio.
TDN, big up yourself. You know,
Steinberg Henry is there.
Yes,
Stein.
good time.
Respect
Nice,
you,
nice to
Stein.
get
Respect you,
inside.
bro. This is the scary from my house. If you take a Tyson, you need to know you know. Alright?
More shots of
Done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Wow. I'm going to hang on a little bit to see they play another song shortly.
I see that. Yes,
Who's
I
next?
like to. But Anthony, you observe
We didn't meet
where we
anybody
find
else.
the resource in the older tracks.
Yes,
You
yes.
observe
Absolutely.
that is where the resource is. So a lot of the older songs they draw on them. Yeah. And the fact that
It's my turn to practice now, so
oh,
All
I'm
right,
going
Bob.
to. No, we don't have to leave. I'll hold the phone in my hand.
he wants you to hear his rendition.
All right,
Calypso Day starts tonight.
we still live what you practice.
You remember, there's a swinging star legend there. You remember that face? Steinberg
Of
Henry?
course, man.
Which one?
This one here.
Oh no, I wouldn't see it clearly.
Okay, that's Hotspot there.
Oh
You remember
yeah,
Hotspot, right?
Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my brother. That's my brother.
Steinberg Henry. Yeah. We love-
Hi Philip, what's up?
Yes, you what's up?
Yes, yes. Greetings to you, my friend. Greetings to you, my friend. Greetings. I'm very well. Wow.
Yeah.
Philip has been with that band for so long.
Long time, huh?
You know, there's a section in Calypso that talks about how he has been able to take all R&Bs and contribute to Calypso.
That's young Norman Lita. Huh? All the guitarists coming.
Hey, thank you. Hello to you too.
Yeah, he said hello to you too.
Hmm.
And swinging stars introduces the new bass player, Dave Terrell.
Wow.
Give it to me, give it to me.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, Dave Terrell.
Dave Terrell used to be with RSP.
Dave Terrell used to be RSB. That's right. That's right. That's right. Stan, you have a very good memory. You said you all travel Liam together.
Ready, bro?
Yes, you're ready.
Just go for it because.
What song you have? What song? What song? What song going
I don't miss that. What happened? We lost them?
No, no, we're going to go back. No, we're there.
Yeah, okay.
Presented.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Hello, everybody, and welcome to TDN TV's Art and the Word. I'm your host, Nicole, and let's do this again. No, it's actually funny.
Okay. And me.
And this is Simba. And Simba is the new host of Art and the Word. I don't know how he's going to hold a paintbrush, but yeah, you know, he obviously wants to be part of the action. So, what are we going to be doing this new season? Lots of exciting arts and crafts, and we are just so happy that you decided to make Art and the Word part of your day. And we hope that you enjoyed last season and all of the great projects that we worked on. We are so excited. We've got a new season. We're going to be doing probably more crafts this time around. Everybody's home still, yes, still. But we're going to make the best of it and continue to create works of art and things that are lovely that will help to enhance your home and also touch your spirit and glorify the Lord. So we're just so thrilled that you decided to come back with us, and we're looking forward to a new season of Art and the Word right here on TDN TV. Yes. So as always, we always like to start by acknowledging our Lord and Savior. And just as soon as I get Simba settled, we are going to have our devotional and prayer time, and then we are going to jump into our project, which I forgot to mention is a Christmas village. And you're probably thinking, Christmas is gone, you know, it's past already. But you know what? I did not get to do my village, and I love my Christmas village. So we're going to do a Christmas village. And we're going to do one that's sort of portable so that you can set it up anytime, anywhere. It doesn't involve a lot of lights, and you don't need a lot of space because, as I said, you can set it up anywhere in your home. Yeah, so we're going to work on that and keep it locked. All right, folks, so we've got Simba squared away, and it's time to get into our devotional. We want to start the year on the right note. We want to start the day off on the right note. So what we're going to be doing this season is we are actually going to try to get through the book of Psalms, as well as we have this lovely new prayer book. It's called Prayers for You. I want to thank Quinton and Michelle for giving that to us, and we're going to be reading from it. So hopefully what we read today will impact you and touch you in whatever your situation is. So let's get started. So I'm going to be reading from, it's called My Daily Psalms and Prayers. Thank you, Mommy, for this gift. And our first psalm is Psalms 40, verse 3. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Lord, resolutions often fade in time. Sometimes I forget all about them, and sometimes I just give up on them, despite my best intentions. I do want to thank you, though, for this fresh start today. for this sense of a new beginning. And I was wondering if, instead of me trying to come up with some better approach to my life, you would come today and fill my heart and mind with reasons to be glad in you. I pray that these would overflow into songs of praise, songs that will continue throughout this year, lifting my own heart and encouraging others to look to you as well. In Jesus' name. So as you can see, the psalmist here, or the writer, is talking about resolutions. And I'm sure every new year we all, create that list of things that we want to accomplish in the new year. With me, it's always the diet and eating better and getting healthy. And yeah, by the end of January, I barely remember what it is that I set out to do. But I think that this is a wonderful resolution to make, and it's a resolution not based off of human intent or purpose. It's a resolution asking God to fill our lives, fill our heart and our mind with reasons to be glad in you, to celebrate the Lord, to remember and to reflect on his goodness to us, on his blessings to us. I think this is a wonderful resolution that we should all make, asking the Lord to help us to achieve that instead of us trying to do it within our own power. So something to reflect on today. And our prayer today.
Thank you, Lord, for the life you've given us. As I practice lifting my face to you in joyful gladness each day, I glimpse a little more freshly that life here on your beautiful earth holds no value without you as my creator.
Amen. All right. So we are going to get started on our village. I'm going to show you all the things that we're going to be using, and we're going to change our setup a little bit so that you can get a good view of what we're going to be working on. So stick around. All right, so we are down on the ground, and what we're going to be doing is the painting first. So I'm just going to scooch down a little bit so you can see me. So we're going to paint these little ornaments that I actually found on sale. After Christmas is the best time, obviously. And I found these on sale at Walmart. They came in a pack of 3. And I think I paid like about $3 or something like that for them. So they came like that. I thought they were very cool little houses, and they gave me the idea for a Christmas village. So we are doing, it's a very do-it-yourself type of thing. So I just cut out this very wonky tree, and also a little lamb creature who's going to be in our village. And I've also made backings so that hopefully they will be able to be supported, once we get them all together. So the idea is that they'll stand like this. And that being said, what it means is that we can now move our pieces anywhere on any table that we want. It's a movable village. There's some Christmas villages, you put them together and it takes so much effort with the lighting and getting them set up, especially if they're made out of ceramic. You want to be careful that you're not doing anything that could cause damage to them. And yeah, pretty much once you've got it set up, it has to kind of stay where it is, especially if you're doing like the extras with the snow, maybe out of cotton wool and all of this kind of thing. So with this, they're just little pieces. You can move them around, you can arrange them in any way. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fun little project. So first thing we're going to do is the painting portion of our project. And we are actually going to try to cover these and make them white. And we're going to give them backdrops of gold. So our village is going to be gold and white. And of course, you can use any colors that you like. You can, keep them in the original colors or swap them out maybe for blue or gray or, whatever catches your fancy. But we're going to try white and gold. So I'm going to assign Dominique here to paint these little backings in gold paint, and you can show them the paint that we've got there. Maybe tell them the name of it.
It is old gold.
Yep. So that's kind of like an antique gold. It's not going to be a very, very shiny gold. We may have to do a few layers to really get a deep saturation of color or value. The other thing that we will be doing is some gluing, but we will do that afterwards. And I'm going to start working on painting the houses white. So we're gonna share our palette here. Just move things around. For this, you could use the broad brush. You could use this brush. So we're just going to use a broad square-headed brush to paint the backdrops here. So that's your job. And for me, for the houses, I'm going to go with white, as I said. I hope you can hear our music in the background. So we will still be doing paint canvases. We will be doing paint projects as well, but I thought that it would be fun to start off with kind of a crafting project. We're trying to branch out, you know, give you different things to look at and hopefully inspire you so that you try them for yourself. And sometimes paint gets hard. I want to thank Sam and everybody at TDN TV for all of their support and all the love that they give to Art and the Word. Also want to shout out Cuthbert and Eddie over there at NECTN. Thank you so much for having allowed us to get our start there. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what the Lord has in mind for us as we continue to strive to fulfill Philippians. In Philippians, it talks about thinking about things that are lovely, things that are of good report, things that are noble, things that are righteous. And I think that when we paint and we create, we're using the talents that the Lord has blessed us with to create things that are lovely, things that bring a smile to someone's face, things that touch someone's heart. So that is the aim of Art and the Word. It's what we aim to do is to produce things that are nice to look at, fun to make, that bring a moment of peace, an oasis of calm, and that glorify the Lord. So here we go. So this is my first coat on this. As you can see, you can still see the dark color kind of showing up underneath. Now this is perfectly fine if you're kind of going for that farmhouse rustic look. I think I'm going to try to do another coat and make it a bit thicker so that there's less of the wood showing through. But so far, looks pretty good. How's that gold working out? Yeah, so we want to get that thicker. We want to get that nice and shiny. Now, I forgot to mention that they do come with their little tags for you to hang from the tree. You can remove this. I'm still kind of trying to figure out. I think I probably will take them off once we're finished the painting, because we're not going to hang these on the tree. So that's not their destiny. So you will see that I've got a bit of cardboard here, and actually this is going to be our mountains in the background. I'm going to paint these little cutouts that I've done in white, and we're going to attach a Christmas card here that I really loved. I got this from one of my aunts, and I really liked how I really loved the gold on it and so forth. So we're going to make that the backdrop of this, and this will go at the back of our village. packing to our houses, which are still a little bit damp. So we're going to wait. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you listen to a good friend of mine. Her name is Nadine Ramnerace, and she's an excellent singer, and she's a former worship leader at my church, the Lakeside Church, and I'm just going to have her sing us a song while we wait for our project to dry, and I pray.
Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changes not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, they join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth. Thy own dear presence to cheer and to guide. All strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is
so we have completed our painting. So as you can see, they turned out pretty nicely. And they could even have taken another coat, but I think I'm fine with this sort of look. The next thing, and oh yeah, I also completed our backing, which will be our backdrop for our village. To make this stand, I just cut out another piece of cardboard, sort of a, I'm not even sure what to call it, kind of a triangular shape, so that it would stand. It's barely standing because this piece has to be level. This piece here has to be level with the rest of the board, and it's not fully, but it's standing. It's doing its thing. So what we're gonna do next is have Dominique glue the backings, the gold backings that we painted, to our houses.
So, strip,
Mhm.
like this, like just across. And
I would suggest doing it one at a time, just so that you make sure that they fit.
gonna just rest it here.
And while she's doing that, I'll show you. These are the backings that are gonna go for the houses as well. So as you can see, they're sort of just triangular shapes, so that when we stick the panels on, they'll stay upright. So pretty basic. I just cut this out of a piece of cardboard box that was lying around. Yay, Amazon! Careful.
Yeah, I'm okay.
The
Just making
turn-
sure this
turn
is
so they
okay.
can see. Yeah. Ooh, pretty. So the idea is that when we string up the lights, hopefully the gold will show up through the windows and make it look like our village has people at home. Turn on the lights. Very nice. Yep.
Okay, so far the first piece seems to be appearing pretty well. So yeah. Now I'm gonna start with the next piece and stick those on.
And we're changing up the order of the houses. We've got two small ones, ma'am.
Yeah.
So you see that we've got different sizes. Oh, look at that! Look. It really looks like they're lit up from behind, eh? So yeah, so we've got, as you can see, sort of large, medium, small. So we're not going to stick them in the same order on the other panel, just to make our village look a little bit more realistic.
clarifying which writer did you want these in again? The big one or the...
I leave it to you to decide.
Oh, I kind of like that one. Looks like a church.
So I'm just applying a little bit of glue, stealing a little bit of glue here so I can do the panel that will help our village to hopefully stand upright. And here we are. So we have set up our little village. And here we are. Our village is all set up. We've added in a few pieces, as you can see. And we've got our nativity scene. We've got our villager coming back from getting his Christmas tree. And there we are with our little Christmas village portable. So I can use it as a centerpiece on this table, or I can decorate another area in the house, a ledge or a shelf. And as you can see, it's very cute. And we are so happy that we had a chance to share this idea with you. Trying to show you that the light shines into the gold. Maybe if I turned off the light, you'd see it a bit better, but there we are. It doesn't look half bad, not bad. All right, thank you guys for joining Dominique and I, and we really hope that you enjoyed today's craft. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? And welcome to Inspiration for Your Day. I'm your host, Nicole Georges Bennett. And as always, it is such a pleasure and an honor to have you join me on our little show. Of course, you can listen to Inspiration for Your Day as a podcast on life101radio.net. But this is Inspiration, the video series. And I'm very excited because I've got such a wonderful guest on today. So before we go any further, I just want to introduce to you Arthur Jenkins, who is an award-winning artist and has been honing his craft for decades. Arthur, welcome to Inspiration for Your Day.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for having me there. I really appreciate this.
So Arthur is based, yeah?
We've been going through it trying to get connected.
Yeah, so we've had a few technical hiccups, but you know what? God is good, and we're here, and we're going to get this done. And Arthur has a wonderful story to share with you, and I'm very excited for him to have the opportunity to do so. So we are going to be right back right after this message.
Hello, this is CB from CB's Corner, inviting you to stop by so that you can get a word that will encourage you, that will inspire you, that will speak some positivity into your life. Where are we located? Oh, on NECTN, New England Christian Television Network. And you can find us every Tuesday, 10 a.m. sharp, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stop by, tell your friend to tell their friend that CB's Corner is on. There is always some food for thought, something to encourage, something to inspire, something to let you know that you can make it despite what you are going through, because you're a star and star shines. Amen. Looking forward to seeing you on CB's Corner next time. Again, 10 a.m. NECTN. Sign in and we'll be happy to share a word with you. There's something for everybody. Looking forward to seeing you.
And we're back. Thank you very much to our sponsor, CB's Corner, and Pastor Cuthbert Joseph. So make sure that you do check out CB's Corner on NECTN. So let's get started. Arthur Jenkins, as I said, is an award-winning artist. And Arthur, do you work mainly in acrylics or do you branch out into other mediums?
I work mainly in acrylics, but I have a strong suit in pen and inks. But I've covered a lot of different genres. I do pastels, I do charcoals, but mostly the strongest suit is pen and inks and acrylics.
Fantastic. So we are going to show you some of his work a little later on in the show, but let's backtrack a little bit and let's talk about who you are and your journey. So you've been a Christian for many years, but of course, like all of us, you started out from a position where you didn't know the Lord that well. And maybe you can start by telling us, where did your walk with God begin?
Okay. First and foremost is when I was a child, I guess you could say. My mom wasn't a churchgoer, but what she did was she made sure that we went to church every Sunday, regardless. And that's where it started at. I used to belong to a little church called Trinity Baptist, which was about a couple of miles from our home. And as most kids do, we grow up and we grow out of our religion, I guess you could say. And as life went on, I got into the teenage years and I did my teenage thing. And then as I grew older, I went in the military. And when I got in the military, I was doing my military thing overseas and all over the world, but still staying away from my religion, I guess you could say. I was in the streets running around, having fun, as they say, what young people do. And probably as I got older, I guess you could say, when I got older, I'm laying in the bed sleeping and I'm saying, oh God. My wife saying, come on, you going to church? And I'm like, nah, you go ahead. Nah, you go ahead. You know how we men are. You have to bring us struggling to get there. And just one morning I woke up, I said, okay, Lord, it's time. I done laid in this bed long enough. So after her begging and pleading with me to come to church, I said, okay, I'll go today.
So she was a Christian.
Oh yeah, definitely. Matter of fact,
So how did she hook up with you then?
We were overseas. That's where we met. We met in Spain. We both were in the military, and we met overseas, and we're still young people, you know, doing what young people do, having fun, you know. But when we got to the States, and I guess you could say she always had the religious gene in her. And she just brought this demon along with her wherever she went. And like I said, as I got older, I just made a conscious decision that enough is enough. God has blessed me to do a lot of things. God has blessed me to travel around the world. God has blessed me to have a decent life, I guess you could say. And I wasn't giving anything back to him. And like I said, that morning when I woke up, I said, okay, it's enough. And my wife, she had been introduced to one of the churches that we first started going to a military friend of ours. And I started going there. And we went there for several years. And, you know, after being there for several years, because it was a huge church. And you know how the old saying goes, it's a huge church, and you really feel like you're not there. Years as the church grew, I mean, really it was one of the largest churches in this town. Then all of a sudden, it started shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And all of a sudden, people knew who you were in the church because it was only about 50 people coming from 1,000 to 50. And eventually the church dissolved. Someone else took the church over. And we moved to another church. And the pastor of that church, his daughter and my daughter were best of friends all the way through school. So I knew him. But after being there for about a year, we decided to join. And so we've been with that church now for about the last 2 years.
Oh, so this is a pretty recent move for you.
Yeah.
What is it about this church that keeps you grounded there?
I think the teaching, the congregation is not as large. A lot of the people I already knew. I had friends who already went to the church. The thing about it, I've been in this community for over 40 years. And like I said, I've been in the barber business for 40 years. So I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of minister friends. And I visited all of their churches before I decided we decided on this particular church. And what I tell people is this. What I liked about the church, first of all, he's a teaching minister. He's a man of God. And they are a community-based church, which they do enormous things in the community. Everything for and basically they build the children. And I always tell people, you know, you can't have a strong church unless you got a strong community of kids in that church, because that's going to be the future. And I say, I've been in churches where, you know, everybody's old. And then you look around and you say, well, who's going to take over? And this particular church, they promote the children. They do a lot of educational things. They do a lot of community-based things, food giveaways, food drives. They do things for the elderly. They do a lot of nursing home outreach, a lot of prison outreach. So they are a strong church in this community.
Thriving church. That's wonderful. So, well, actually, before we go further, what's the name of the church? In case, you know, any of our folks ever are in Florida. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see.
Striving for Perfection Ministries for those not perfect.
Lovely. So let's take a minute now and talk about where art begins to kind of come into the picture, because just as you had that sort of church foundation, you've always been drawn to art and doodling and sketching, right? Even from a young age.
Correct.
So tell us a bit about how that came into being.
Okay. I'm an inner city kid, single mom. And my first teachers were not school teachers as far as art.
Where did you grow up? I forgot to ask. Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. And I did all my schooling right there in Richmond. But like I say, when I first started out, my first teachers were actually people who lived in my apartment building. So my first, I guess you could say, real teacher was a guy named Andrew Williams. He lived across the hall from me. And Andrew would come out in the hall and draw. And every day, I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, and he was older than me. So he would just sit down and draw, and I would try to copy everything he did. And I was like, wow. And every day we'd be out there in the hallway, and, you know, and he said, oh, you're getting pretty good at it. I said, yeah, okay. But in school, I was that kid that, you know, I drew your maps for you. You know, I drew your Indians and cowboys and charge you a quarter. You pay a quarter, you know, that type of thing. And another guy, his name was James Jackson. He lived downstairs from me. So by the time I got to middle school, James Jackson was a wood carver. And he's just sitting in his doorway and he'd be carving wood. And one day I asked him, he says, you want to learn how to do this? I said, sure. So and he taught me how to wood carve. And by the time I got to high school, I was making jewelry and things of that nature for kids in school and stuff like that. Then when I transferred to middle school, I had a teacher whose name was Miss Gray. And Miss Gray was the person who introduced me to acrylic paints at that time. And for some reason or another, I think that acrylics was just becoming popular because way back then. And before then, I was doing oil paintings. And then she taught me, she said, look, the difference between this and oil is it dries quicker, you can work faster, and you get this basically the same effect. I'm like, okay. So she was an influence on my artistic career. As I moved on to high school, Mr. Baskerville, he was one of my teachers. And I was a good art student. And, you know, like some kids, they go, oh, I'll go to art and get an easy grade, you know. Well, I was really in it, you know, deeply in it. And when I got to high school, I was in a summer program, which is called Upper Bound, which was for underprivileged kids to get them generated to go to college. So we had a lot of teachers there that taught art, and we had opportunity to travel and to visit other, I guess you could say, introduce young inner city kids to plays, the museums, the arts, the culture. And I was really into it. So, you know, we had some good programs. When I was in high school, my senior year, I was selected as one of the top high school artists in the city. And what they would do, they go to all the high schools and pick out the top artists. And what they would do is they would present your artwork downtown at one of the large department stores. And they would invite your families out, and they have a big dinner, and they give out these scholarships. And the amazing thing was about my mom, she was there with me. Laugh about it today. She said to me, she says, "You really good at this, ain't you, baby?" Yes, because, you know, being a single parent, she used to always see me drawing. She said, "Oh, that's a pretty picture." But she was, you know, she was a working woman. She fed 3 sons, and she didn't have time to really focus on that. But I look forward, and then when I look forward years, she would always ask me, she said, "Baby, you still drawing and painting?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "It's good." And I won a contest one time, and she had this painting that I won, and she held it for years, you know. But she would always ask me, "You still doing your artwork?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And but
So she was very proud of you, obviously.
oh, definitely, because, you know, I was her college student, you know, and that in our family wasn't a big thing. Didn't graduate from college. Let me make that perfectly clear. But I've always continued my artwork, and I've always taken classes with art, you know, over the years.
So did you ever conceive of your art as a gift from God? Did you ever think of it in those terms as a young artist coming up? Did you see it
All,
as something that you used in worship, for example? Or how did that type of thinking come to be?
that came to be, I guess you could say, okay, I think when I was a teenager, I've always thought that I had a gift. But I was just assuming, you know, like most of us, oh, that's just my gift. You know, I did this, you know, that type of thing. Uh, and later on in life, you realize, like I say, when I started looking at certain works that I was doing, the creative process, or I always say my business is called inner vision, the inner visions that I had of how I could think of things, or how I could produce something from nothing, or I could make a beautiful picture that had nothing to do with flowers or dogs or cats or anything like that, that I could just make a creative design. Then I realized then the gift was definitely from God, because people always ask me, they says, "How do you think of it?" I said, "I don't think of it. I said, I lay the pencil down, and the rest is up to him." And I don't sit there and say, "Oh, I'm gonna put this over here, I'm gonna put this over there." It just flows like that. Now, what I tell people is this: I have artist friends who are awesome artists. I mean, realism, it's like a picture. I'm that guy that I can draw or paint what I see, but also when I can't, like people say, artist block. I don't have artist block because I can just think of stuff. I can just sit there and things just happen. I always tell people, I love it when people say, "Oh, that's a pretty dog," or "That's a pretty flower." But then I love it when somebody says, "Oh my God, I don't know what it is, but I like it. I like the way it flows. I like the color. there's certain things about it. And then they started seeing things. They're like, oh, I see this and I see that. To me, that is the blessing right there, that you can create something that they just can't readily recognize, but they feel something about it, and they feel something about the colors, the way the picture moves, and emotion. That's, to me, that's what it's all about. I can draw, something that you say, oh yeah, that's a pretty dog, that's a pretty cat. But the creative things is that's absolutely awesome, and have the ability to do that, because I have friends who are artists and they just tell you in a heartbeat, I can't create nothing, but I can draw what I see. But how do you do it? I says, it's only got to be God. That's the way I look at it. He's given the ability to go both ways, to be able to draw what I see, but also to create things. Yeah.
So it's your, I remember, because both of us are in this artist program, and I remember it's Matt Tomey who said that you create with God. Not you're creating for God, but you're also creating with God, because the inspiration is coming through the Holy Spirit. The creativity that you're talking about here is through the Holy Spirit. So do you find yourself then drawn more to abstract rather than creating realism in your work?
I would almost venture to say it's 50-50, but my strong suit, I tell people this, when people see what I call semi-abstract pieces, I think that's what I'm more drawn to, because I like the idea that I didn't have to look at something to do it. It's just this visual thing that God gives me to be able to see things, that I always say the third eye, or that creative inner vision that I have inside of me, that vision that he gives me to see things that other people can't see, and I always tell people, I've done pieces where you can be viewed from all four sides. I guess you could say semi-abstract. And I always tell them, you got a 4-in-1 piece. They say, well, what do you mean? I says, well, think about it. Look at the picture. I said, when you put it in a room, you might have it horizontal and leave it there for about a month, and then put it vertical for about a month, and just twist it all. And I said, I guarantee you, when people come to your house, they will say, is that the same picture? Because you get a whole totally different view. And I said, that's the amazing thing about some of the pieces that I do, the intricate things that I do with it, the little small things that people don't see, or the little spiritual things that are put in there and they don't identify. Or I would say, I did a picture one time, and I had the doves in the eye. So
Wow.
I tell the people, and inside the picture had these other birds. But I asked people, I said, if you can find all the eyes in the picture, I said, I'll give you a print. I never had to give a print away. And those were looking right at them, and they would count all the birds in the picture, but they were not looking directly in the eyes of the picture. The doves were in there. And then they're like, oh, I see it now. I said, yeah, you've been looking at it all the time, So that is, in itself, I always think it's an amazing thing that people think that they see the whole thing, but they don't, And the blessing is when somebody calls me back and they'll say, Art, I've had this picture in my house for 6 months. I had some friends to visit, and they showed me something I never saw before. I said, yeah, that's the blessing of the picture. I said, even though when you bought it, you thought you seen everything until somebody else interprets it in their way. And that's what I always tell people. The good thing about the human mind is each individual has their own vision or their own interpretation of pictures or paintings. Like I said, again, you can look at a picture of a portrait and say, oh, that's a beautiful portrait. But when you do something creative and people have to really think about it, or they have to look at it and say, wow, I see this, I see that. That's the blessing right there to me. And that's what I love hearing when somebody called me and said, hey man, this is awesome. I didn't even know that this was in here. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. That's when you know you got something special. Yeah.
So of course now everybody wants to see some of these paintings. So I'm going to let you pick up your phone there and start giving us a bit of a tour of your gallery. Can you tell us the name of your gallery?
Okay, the name of the gallery is Creative Inner Visions.
Creative Inner Visions. And where are you located?
I'm located in a place called Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It's on the Gulf Coast, in between Panama City, Florida, or Destin, Florida, and Alabama. You know, so we are right at the Panhandle area. In other words, we are known for our beautiful white sand beaches and emerald green waters. And everybody who comes here, they got to go see the white sand because they, they don't see it that often. So it's a military town, and it's basically it's a paradise, really. And when I was younger, my wife and I were like, "Oh, we ain't staying here. There's nothing going on." And all of a sudden, we grew up, and we are old, and we're here, and we love it. Yeah.
So yeah, so what tell us what we're looking at as we go around. So as Art mentioned, he is not just an artist, but he's also a barber and has been for the last 40 years or so. So what he has done is he has a converted space which he has got divided between his barbershop and then an exhibition space or gallery for his work. And I know you've got such a body of work. You don't have everything on the walls over there, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of the works that we're going to be seeing
Okay.
as you try to maneuver your phone so that we can get to see some of your paintings.
All right. Well, we're in the actual. Can you see? Can you see? Can you?
Well, we still see you, and yeah, we can see some of the paintings in the background. So you might need to come a little closer.
Up here, I have a bin.
All right. So that's good. Yep.
This
This,
a prints. When people come in, they see different prints.
yeah.
And I have an array of
Maybe
prints.
move your phone a little bit lower so we can just yeah, there we
Uh,
go. There you go. Beautiful.
and
Wow.
this
Can
is
you
one.
tell us a bit about what we're looking at here?
This is one of my inner vision pieces here. And if you look in deep,
Right.
you see all the intricate. And this is pen and ink and Prismacolor pencil. Okay. I do a lot of jazz festivals here in the local area. So this here is one of my jazz pieces. This is what I call blowing the horn for cancer. If you notice, he has on his pink outfit.
Yes, yes.
And this is one of my blues pieces, jazz and blues pieces here. Okay. And this is one of my political pieces that I did during the Trayvon Martin incident. And
Mhm.
inside of this is probably one of my deepest pictures here. Inside of it, it gives you a little insight into everything that happened that day or that evening. It has everything from the day that he died to his mother said, "That's my voice." The other guy's mother said it was her son's voice. Of course, he was shot in the chest. And the things that were said, he was saying he looked suspicious. He had the Skittles, the iced tea. He was 17 years old. And one of the things that the other guy was saying, "Why are you following me?" Down the bottom said, "They always get away." The 911 called. He said that the young kid threatened his life. It's a powerful, powerful piece.
Yes. It's very heartrending.
Yes, very much so. And of course, I'm a Prince fan. One of my favorites there. One of my biggest sellers, the Prince. And my Christ version here.
Mhm. Yeah, I was going to ask if you could show us some of your spiritual pieces.
Sure will. And this is one of my political pieces here also. Now I'm going to give you a little history on this. This actual piece here, my grandson, his first president was an African-American president. His
Right.
grandfather never thought that he'd ever see an African-American president. So,
Mhm.
and what happened was we were in a Dr. King March, and the local newspaper had us on the front page of the newspaper. I went home that evening and I drew this piece, and then I put the old emblem in the background there. Yeah.
Wow.
And this is one of my African princesses. It's charcoal.
Amazing. Beautiful. So
Afro.
you really do work in numerous media.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like I say, about my strongest suit. Like I say, when I get around the corner, you see the what you call it. These young guys.
We have a few more minutes left. So,
Okay.
oh, lovely. Yeah. So we would like to see more.
This is one of my pieces here. This is strictly for women.
Can you shift it just a little bit more to the right? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. You have very vibrant colors. You've got
Yeah.
a very vivid color palette I've noticed on all of your work.
You haven't seen anything yet. Wait till we go around. I want you. This is something that I've seen somewhere, and people love it.
Mhm.
And
So
and welcome to this program of the Waitikubli Writers. We are greatly grateful to TDN TV for giving us this opportunity to publicize our work, to showcase what we have been doing. In this program, you will be hearing from a number of members of Waitikubli Group. Some have had works published, others are just beginners. But there is one thing in common, the love of writing. It was the French writer André Breton who said, "Of all those arts in which the wise excel, nature's chief masterpiece is writing well." We cannot claim, however, to produce masterpieces, but we try, and there is much support in the group, everyone helping the other by providing tips for writing, by sending any articles which can promote the writing techniques. And so we want to thank you for listening to us. We want to encourage you to listen to the writers who will read excerpts from their stories or poems this morning. So once again, we do thank TDN TV for allowing us this opportunity to get to you. And we hope that you will purchase copies of our latest collection, in fact, our first collection of short stories, Montage Dominique. And this collection, you can find the books at Jay's Bookstore from members of the group, or you can buy an e-copy from Amazon. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamania Collier-Didier, and I'm a member of the Waitikubli Writers. Last year, in the Independent Literary Competition, I won first place with my poem entitled "Do You Read Me?" in the English poetry section. Do you read me? Imagine I have stood here since 1906, a symbol of leisure, a symbol of peace, a place where minds are nurtured, where solutions are found, a place of information where learning abounds. Do you read me? In Andrew Carnegie's heart, I was conceived. Philanthropy played a part. A goal was achieved. Designed by Sir Heskiff Bell, I took shape and became a place where reading was fun, a place of public acclaim. Just one of 5 in the Caribbean. What a great privilege. I stand out in architectural design with my wooden rails, my verandas wide, my gabled roof, my big airy windows, my fretwork shown off with pride. Then came that monster David, with his strong winds and rain, giving my body a bashing, filling me with much pain. My windows he broke through, my roof he left bare. With water rushing in, it was disaster everywhere. But the role I played was important. I could not be ignored. Back on my feet in due time, service to my patron restored. Everyone was happy. It was such a delight. Standing proud as a peacock, I was back in the limelight. I had the monopoly until the internet came. Choiceless, I followed suit and got into the game. Computers were installed, technology had to be obeyed, but precious books on the shelf still a major part played. She then chose to make her landing. September 18th, 2017. That wicked Hurricane Maria, leaving me broken and beaten. What would become of me? My entrails all a mess. With no answer forthcoming, I chose to wait with bated breath. I thought that, like after David, help would come my way. But here am I, nearly 4 years on, a skeleton to this day. What a pitiful picture. So sad to look at me. Standing here like tarnished gold. I look so derelict, can't you see? And to think that someone would add insult to injury by setting fire to my frame, further helping to destroy me. Not once but twice it happened. I thought that I was cursed, but I held on in suspense. Thank God it was not worse. Please, Dominica, here is my plea. I have done all I could with the resources given me. To many I have been good, helping countless patrons complete their needed task. I now need help in return. Is that too much to ask? I represent our heritage, which needs to be preserved for future generations, a legacy reserved. Do not allow them to thrash me, my beautiful frame to burn. Do not allow them to destroy me, my tradition to spurn. I cry out for mercy. I cry out for help. Do you read me? Do not leave me hopeless. Your petitions have strength. Save me, Carnegie's Free Library.
Hello, my name is Kathy Casimir McLean. I'm a member of Waitikubli Writers group. I wrote this poem, The Body of Memory, for our Emancipation celebrations of 2020. In this poem, I wanted to express how memory links us to our past and how it informs who and what we are as in our present. Memory steeps our skin, is our ancestral gift kept alive by the folklore of our lives, present, past, continuous. Lives with lost hopes, enduring terror in cramped cargo holds of stinking ships on an Atlantic crossing. Wafts on fetid breath, caught tight on the talons of the whirling whipped, sun-beaten merciless in cane-filled fields, scars the hearts of those repeatedly raped, infants torn away from tortured arms, mothers, brothers, sisters, all scattered. Threads through our minds, woven into action, running to refuge within mountainous forests, defying captivity. Courses about our veins, cleaves us to the land, promising libation to sounds of the voiceless, left nameless, unforgotten. It is our cultural store trapped in our genes, entangling our stories, haunting history, shaping collective memory.
My name is Roy Sanford. I'm a member of Waitikubli Writers. I am about to read an excerpt from my short story, Ma and I, which appeared in Montage Dominic, News Stories and Poems from Dominica, which was published recently by Waitikubli Writers. When the letter arrived from Dominica, it took me 2 days to summon the courage to open it. It had been over 10 years since I'd received a letter from home, and I was afraid of whatever information this one contained. Most likely the news was bad, very bad. I left Dominica in the late 70s when I was 16. It was hard for Ma, since I was her only child, but she wanted the best for me. She wanted me to seek my fortunes in places where opportunities were aplenty. I chose the French island of Marie-Galante simply because it was close by, right across the channel from Dominica. And so I joined a wave of young Dominicans going to work on sugar plantations there. For months before my departure, Ma worked hard, weaving baskets, cultivating all kinds of crops to sell to make sure I had the money that I needed. And so in the dead of night, I took a small boat, loaded with other eager young men, and slipped across the sea, unseen, to Marie-Galante. I was lucky. I got a job the next day on a big sugar plantation and settled down to work. The estate owner was impressed and soon placed me in charge of a group of men on the plantation. Those days were happy days. I wrote every week, and Ma responded in kind. I look forward to these correspondences because I missed her dearly. But soon over time, my letter writing habits changed. I began writing once a month, then once every 6 months, finally once a year. Eventually, it stopped. And now, over 10 years later, I am receiving a letter from Dominica, and it was not in Ma's handwriting. For 2 days, I was afraid of the tiding it bore. So I hid the letter underneath the mattress and went along my normal duties, but I could not concentrate. I felt ashamed, guilty. I felt regret. Receipt of the letter had jerked into me the stark realization that I had abandoned my mother, the woman who had worked so hard to get me going in life. I remember once Ma told me that one day I would forget her, but she only laughed, and it was not out of amusement. So I was sweating profusely when I pulled the letter from underneath the mattress. It felt heavy. With trembling hands, I opened it carefully, as if afraid a slight mistake might affect its content. The letter was written by my niece Marvella, and it was over a month old. My heart sank. The news was indeed bad. Ma was gravely ill and had been asking for me. She wanted to see me at all costs. It took my brain about a minute to digest the information. I knew I had to get back to Dominica and fast, but that was going to be a daunting task. My Dominican passport had expired some years ago, and I had no French documents. The small boats that used to sneak across the channel from Dominica to Marie-Galante had all ceased operation, and now only an occasional one, loaded with marijuana and other contraband, attempted the journey. After reading the letter, I head down to the beach. I thought I might be lucky enough to get some information about the boat that wanted to take the stealthy trip back home. Across the sea, Dominica lay like a huge whale, and there was every urge in me to hurl myself into the water and swim across. A week later, I found the boat, and once again, in the dead of night, like I did so many years ago, I made my way across to the island where I was born. You can read the rest of the story in Montage Dominic, which is available at Amazon, on Amazon. Keywords, Waitikubli Writers.
Hello everyone, my name is Erwin Mitchell, and I'm a writer and member of Waitikubli Writers Association. Today I'm reading a piece entitled My Smile, and this piece was published in our recently published anthology, Montage Dominic. My smile. So you've asked, why do I smile? When my troubles are stacked from seabed to sky, and try as I might, I can't seem to get by. When ideas and ambitions can't lift off or fly, should I give up or sit back and cry? When journeys I brave seem brilliant and bright, but the mission at hand is an unyielding fight. The friends that I see in day's blessed night seem to weigh down and drag me in secretive night. I smile. The people I've helped in moments of need would tear off my head through self-driven greed. For my desires and fears no one cares or takes heed, but they gather to reap when I've planted a seed. That broken and tired I took time to sow, while the date of the harvest is all they need know. Protagonists greet me with a heartfelt hello, but the look in their eye is a death-striking blow. I smile. When colleagues and friends start rebelling bold, and family members freely prospect for gold, as if I've inherited some riches to hold, of these negative forces I've never been told. By the ones who taught me to care and to love, as they taught me the value of the Most High above. I thought life would be simple, I'd fit in like a glove, but trials and stress caused my mind to evolve, so I smile. Because I know of a comfort who is stronger than most, so I take all my trials to the heavenly host. the only true friend of whom I proudly boast. He has never neglected me from since we've been close. When life and its burdens bewilder my brain, and trials before me cause heart-wrenching pain, a simple goal seems to present a strain, and normal psyches are driven insane. I ease back and smile. The message I'm sending is easy to say. At times all you need is to kneel down and pray. I never allow tension to ruin my day. Instead, I let him lead, and in his footsteps I stay. When devil's disciples seek to shake down my style and toughen my journey, oh how long is the mile. I need only think, take a rest for a while. While the king takes the lead, I can sit back and smile. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Nicole Georges Bennett, and I'm going to be reading to you my short story Affiliation, which is published in the Montage Dominic anthology, now available in paperback and ebook on Amazon.com. But first, I want you to imagine a society where objectivity is not a choice, and where neutrality is not an option. I hope you can see my colors well. Affiliation. The interview was going so well, I made the mistake of allowing myself to hope. The manager scanned my certificates, and I held my breath. I'd done well in my year, 5 1s and 2 2s and A levels in maths and political science. Plus, he didn't know me personally. He was from Antigua. There was still a chance. Well, young man, these look very promising. He smiled at me over his bifocals. I exhaled and gave a lopsided smile in return. I wiped the sweat off my palms onto my slacks. He scanned the questionnaire I'd been required to fill. And then he frowned. Dread began to twist my stomach. He looked at me quizzically. You forgot to tick off under political affiliation, son. He pushed the form across the table at me. I knew it was useless, but I felt the words tumble out of my mouth. I don't have one. I'm neutral. I don't have an interest in politics, I babbled. He stared at me, and then his bushy eyebrows rose slowly. So you don't support the current administration? His tone became stern. I tried to meet his gaze, but I felt so disarmed, that I couldn't. I licked my dry lips. I couldn't fail. Not again. Just tell him what he wants to hear, I thought. I don't vote. I don't believe in partisan politics, I said. I heard the hopeless tone in my voice. Well, that's naive. So you must be a supporter of the opposition then. He pulled the form towards him, opened a desk drawer, and dropped it in. He carefully put my certificates back in their folder and handed them back to me, and I took them, automatically. I don't support any party, I repeated. I believe government should work for the good of all citizens, regardless of party affiliation. At that moment, the door opened and his secretary came in, and my heart sank. She had not been at her desk when I came in an hour earlier, so I'd escaped her sharp gaze. She was from my neighborhood, and she knew me. It was all over. I turned, I stood up, I stuck my hand out stiffly to him. He glanced at it dubiously, and then he shook it. I turned and I saw the shock of recognition on the secretary's face. As I left, I closed the door, but not before I heard her scandalized whisper. His head not good, you know. He was in the psychiatric unit after his father died.
I walked quickly and wiped away hot tears from the corners of my eyes. I could have done that job blindfolded if he'd just given me a chance. I would have been the best employee he'd ever had. I caught the bus home and I stripped off. I had soaked through my dress shirt and jacket. I did my breathing exercises and I repeated my mantra. I am well. All is well. All shall be well. I could hear the whispering of voices at the edge of my consciousness trying to break through, so I built my mental wall, brick by brick. By the time I was finished, I was exhausted but proud. I had not let the voices win. My mother came home during her lunch hour, and we ate sandcoach with dumplings. She chewed methodically, but I could feel her eyes boring into my skull. So you open your big mouth and you do get the job, not true? She scraped her fork back and forth across her plate loudly. I glanced up and I saw her wipe her face with tissue, leaving wisps of white fluff in the creases of her eyes and in the folds of her neck. She got up and pulled my plate from me. I had been saving a dumpling, and I watched glumly as she popped the whole thing in her mouth. She dropped the dishes with a clatter in the sink. All you have to say is I voting MPP or PPM. That's all you have to say. You're stubborn, just like your father. She said this from between clenched teeth. I watched her shoulders heave and I could hear the voices pressing against my mental wall. I cannot do that, Mommy. Nobody should be forced to support a political party just to get basic human rights and necessities, I said. Don't be calm. Be calm. Don't get angry. All is well. Boy, you are 23 years old. You don't have job. You don't have house. You don't even have a woman. You're crazy in your head and you need the expensive medicine. I cannot take all that burden. She rounded on me, holding a spoon and pointing it at me as her voice rose. How you think you get in the little food we have? How you think you get money to go school in foreign? Huh? Your father with his big talk about democracy. His mouth never stopped running. And it's me that had to go to the minister and beg for them to send you to school. You think that was easy for me? Ah? She jabbed a spoon at me and I felt every jab like a knife stab, tearing through my fragile psyche. He was a man of integrity, I said. He believed in a free and fair democracy. He died like a dog in his own vomit because no doctor would take him. And when he was so sick that last time, we sit in the ER in the hallway and those nurses walk up and down by us. Nobody to check us. The minute I say his name, the matron say his voter card show he doesn't vote and he not a true patriot. Sorrow rose out of her and surrounded her like a black storm cloud. It looked like she was drowning in it. I started to open my mouth to warn her, but suddenly realized it might be better not to. You taking your pills now? Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. I nodded because I couldn't trust myself to lie. I tried not to, but I began to picture my father lying on the floor of a hospital hallway. I knew I shouldn't think like that. It was a dangerous train of thought. In my imagination, he lay on the cold floor. Was it tiled or hard concrete? Did he feel the cold seep into his fevered bones? I looked through his eyes at the stockinged feet and orthopedic shoes flashing by. Did he regret his obsession for equality? All he had to do was say the right words, declare his party, announce his colors, or wave a flag, just to save his life. But he didn't. Instead, he died like a dog, just as my mother said. I felt the fury build up in me, not at the way of life that dictated I must align politically in order to get food and shelter and education. I was angry at my father for his outlandish principles and his refusal to conform.
The voices echoed so loudly in my head that they shattered the protective wall that I had constructed, and now they ran rampant into every corner of my mind. I am well, all is well, all shall be well. But the voices screamed louder and gave me a new mantra. He was a fool. You are a fool, and you will die like a fool. My mother, her head and torso the only things visible from the storm cloud only I could see, left the house to go back to work. I went to the sink and I started to wash up, but the gleam of the silver knives seduced me. I rinsed the soap off my shaking hands and I went to my room. I had 2 doses left in the bottle that my mother had begged from a nurse at the public clinic. Because of my father, she would never have clear access to the necessities of life. But because she attended a political party's campaign meetings, she managed to eke out a living as a public toilet cleaner. I, however, would never be so lucky. I had inherited my father's disease, a conscience that could never be compromised. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Taisha Bellot and I'm a member of the Waitikubli Writers Group. I'm here to do a poem entitled She's No Longer There. Happy reading. For decades so many, we walked past by her daily, a figure so strong standing in the corner right there. As the time slowly passed, so grew the fears she secretly amassed of a time to come when she will no longer be around, a topic of sad discussion for many. Body shades of brown, a frame so voluptuously round, cracks and scars, long and deep, some coursing their way to the ground. She did not complain of her pain, and never did she seem weak. Skin coarse to the touch, layered her body throughout, but her inner beauty, oh, different shades, but just as pretty. She was bold, she was strong. Her rings of age she was so proud of. She weathered the storms 1 century long, sometimes beaten, at times battered, but never once had she fallen, and to her that was all that mattered. Seasonally, her arms gave freely of the sweet fruit that only she could bear, to many a passerby from the ground below, or those that swooped down from the tropical sky. Her mane whispered in the breeze, perhaps the many secrets of the Madame Jean Rees, who would have enjoyed her cooling shade, or peered longingly at the juicy mangoes she made. In 2020 came the day when her leaves no longer would wither away, when her branches men and boys could no longer climb to pick of her fruit so sweet, so divine. The day she knew would come one day when she had to go, unable to stay. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Dorothy Levy and I'm going to read an excerpt from my short story entitled The Double Blessing at Christmas. And this story is in our anthology, Montage Dominique, New Stories and Poems from Dominica. I'm part of the Waitikubli group of writers. The story opens with a woman on her way to the Christmas novena because she feels that she has been through a very rough patch and she feels much better now. After the Mass, she exchanged greetings with acquaintances and, armed with an umbrella, left the church for the walk home. She took pleasure in the signs of Christmas preparations all around. The primary school was already closed, so some children were gathered under a tree, shelling pigeon peas for their parents. The occasional squeals she heard from them
indicated they had found worms in the shells. Others were peeling sorrel. She had taken part in all those activities as a child, had joined in the exaggerated squeals when she saw a worm wriggling its way out of a pigeon pea or the shell. She noticed a table under a tree on an empty lot and knew that the meat from the animals killed would be sold there. Sounds of Christmas carols were heard from houses, most of which were already decorated with wreaths, garlands, and other festive items. There were Christmas trees on some porches. Once she arrived home, however, a feeling of sadness overwhelmed her, and she had to sit while she fought it off. What was it the counselor in the hospital had told her? Each year, Mrs. Osmond, as December 23rd approaches, you may experience the pain, but you must not let it overpower you. You must forgive yourself. She entered her son's room. It was almost 8 years since Bruce had left, or rather, 8 years since she had screamed and shouted at him to get out of her house and life because she thought she was raising a man and he obviously was not one. The room was as he had left it. His pictures of Juice WRLD, Kodak Black, and Tupac, though faded, were still on the wall. To Isabella, it was a sanctuary, but it was also a confessional area. She sat on Bruce's bed, and memories came flooding back. Her husband's abandonment when her son was 12 was the first major disruption in what had seemed their normal lives. Timothy, her husband, had given no indication that he was unhappy, that he was different. Though he had moved with his partner to another village, rumors spread quickly on a small island. She had tried her best to ignore the shame and embarrassment. Perhaps she had focused too much on her son, reminding him he was the man of the house, her protector. Did Bruce already exhibit certain signs which she had missed? The counselor assigned to her at the hospital had told her, any parent who goes searching the room of an 18-year-old must be prepared for anything found. She had been far from prepared that morning, 8 years ago, when she entered her son's room while he was at a football game. She had gone to see if he had borrowed a pair of scissors which she kept in her room, but curiosity got the better of her and she decided to search through his dresser drawers. The sheet of paper with the typed words found in the top drawer of his dressing table under some T-shirts was obviously part of a letter, but the rest of the letter was missing. She had taken up the sheet, had read and reread with anger mounting. He had come upon her while she was holding the paper. It was as though her anger at his father, even after all the years, and the shock she felt came to boiling point in her head and exploded. Isn't it enough that your father left us and went to live with someone young enough to be his son? So, you are like your father? You are no son of mine. Get out, leave, she had shouted. She was 52 at the time, and she worked at the treasury in the second town. She had moved there with Bruce after her husband had left her. Though 8 long years had passed, she remembered clearly the day after the incident. She could not get out of bed and had kept replaying the scene with Bruce. The counselor had tried to help her at the hospital, had even instilled some doubt in her mind when he asked, "Are you sure the feelings expressed on the paper were those of your son?" "I read the words," Isabella had replied. Bruce wrote that he could no longer live a lie. It was there on paper. He wrote of the daily conflict which would kill him if he did not